Mary Hyatt is a Nashville-based life coach and business consultant who's a holistic lifestyle advocate that just achieved the distinction of the Presidential Diamond with doTERRA essential oils. Mary really loves herself. I know that sounds weird, but one of her biggest passions is teaching her clients how to love themselves too. You know what? Just stick around and you'll see what I mean on this episode of the Peak Performers Podcast.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast
with your host, Thor Conklin.
Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Mary, thank you very much for joining us today. I know the audience is going to get so much out of today's episode. I've got to start with, you've got such an amazing backstory. 6 years ago, things are not going well. You're overweight. It just doesn't seem like life is going in the right direction. Take us back there. What was going on?
You know, it's so funny. I was just looking at a photo of myself from that time period. My mom sent it to me in a text, and she said, "Oh, sweet Mary." She said, "We should have known." She said, "I'm so sorry." And I was immediately brought to tears because I was looking at this photo where I was 80 pounds heavier than I currently am. And at that time of my life, I was so depressed, super anxious. I was sleeping all the time and was just generally miserable. My outlook on life was dark. And I just thought, how in the heck did I get here? I can remember looking in the mirror and seeing my face and going, okay, well, I'm me somewhere inside, but the person I'm looking at in the mirror isn't me. And I can just remember wearing for years, I would just not even wear a pair of jeans. I was so embarrassed to go shopping and, basically wear yoga pants in a size 20 every single day. And would wear a hat and I just felt like I wanted to hide. I was so just embarrassed and had no life force in me. It felt like it was just like The Walking Dead, just going from one thing to the next, just trying to survive. And oh man, it was a dark period in my life for sure.
And so what was that one moment that kind of made that light go on, or that light flicker? Was there something that happens? Somebody say something? What was it?
I had a girl that I knew who invited me at the time to a yoga class. And you guys know, like, if you think about yoga, you think of these, ballerina type bodies. And I was looking at my body thinking, okay, this is not, which one does not look like the other? This does not belong. But I went, and it ended up being more of a meditation style type class. And so there wasn't a lot of movement to it. But the woman who was teaching the class, they were offering a retreat to Nicaragua, a yoga retreat to Nicaragua. And there was something in me that knew that I needed to go on that yoga retreat. Now, I hadn't been doing yoga. Obviously, I was in no physical condition to go on a yoga retreat, but I just knew that I had to figure out a way to make it happen. So I show up, I go on this retreat, and we're doing yoga, sunrise yoga, sunset yoga, and kind of hanging out in the middle and doing a bunch of kind of lecture style stuff about health, the nutrition. And I mean, of course, I was the heaviest one there. And one afternoon we had a free afternoon that we could take advantage of the property that we were on. And one of the activities was to go horseback riding. And I thought, oh my gosh, I love horses. I grew up with horses. And I thought, this is going to be really great. I want to do this and treat myself. So I sign up on the list and I go to do the horseback riding for the afternoon. And I step up to this horse and I look at this horse and I kind of look down at myself and I look at the horse and kind of look at myself and I go, yeah, this poor horse. Like, I was just thinking, like, I am going to break this horse's back. And in that moment, along with being pretty just mortified and had all this, just shame, which I kind of worked on later. But in that moment, I was like, I don't want this to be my life. I don't want this physical weight to keep me from the things that I want to do, the things that I want that will make me come alive. And it was in that moment. And actually, I got on the horse. I ended up doing this horseback ride through the mountains of Nicaragua, which was just gorgeous. But it was in that moment that I thought, I'm never going to be in this place again. I'm not doing this again. The next time that I get on a horse, I want to feel fit. I want to feel excited. I want to feel all the joy And I never want to have to think about being sorry for an animal because I'm sitting on it and I feel like I'm too heavy. And that was a turning point for me.
Yeah, sometimes our worst day is actually our best day.
Absolutely. I feel like that's always the case. I always say it's breakdown before breakthrough.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people just wait too long. They just let the pain, stack and stack and stack and just repeat themselves their entire lives. So congratulations on making that breakthrough. So you made a decision in that moment, never again. What steps did you start to take? What changed?
Yeah, so I left this retreat. I actually decided at the end of this retreat to become a yoga instructor, which was so crazy. I mean, I really, with this week plus the time that I had done yoga before I showed up, it was like all of 2 weeks that I had done yoga. But I knew, again, that it was going to start from the inside. And yes, yoga was physical, but it wasn't about that for me. It was really about what I knew I would learn spiritually and emotionally, and knew that that was going to be part of my healing. And so I kind of joke that I took myself through, Mary Hyatt self-discovery school, and I ended up buying all of these books and ended up signing up for a Tony Robbins conference, Unleash the Power Within, and decided to go to that. And I just knew that if I was going to create incredible change in my life, if I was going to make the shift and make the difference, I had to become obsessed with figuring out what got me here in the first place. What was the root cause of what was going on, and learn everything that I could from anybody that I could get my hands on in books and podcasts and conferences to apply those things and create a huge mental shift. So I just got obsessed, which really worked in my favor. And little by little, the shift happened.
I'm telling people all the time, get obsessed, get addicted. They're not bad words. Find something that really supports you, something that really drives you forward. Become obsessed, become addicted there. If you're 90% in and you're not all in, that's tough. But when you go all in and you're obsessed and you're addicted, then life just flows for you. So well done.
Thanks. And I love that because, when you think about the 99%, once you shift to 100, that level of commitment, there's no way out. And I think that is one of the things that I teach my doTERRA team all the time. Is I say, guys, you got to be 100% in, because then it takes I'm just going to try this and see if it works, or I'm going to give it a little go, but if this goes wrong, I'm out. I'm going to bail out. And that is a miserable place to be, absolutely miserable, because you always are going back and forth, wishy-washy. And when you commit and you just say, come hell or high water, I'm doing it no matter what. This is who I am. This is what I do. It becomes effortless. It becomes easy.
Yeah, it's like getting into a boat. You've got one foot on the dock and one foot on the boat. And what ends up happening? The boat shifts away from the dock, and all of a sudden it's like you're in a massive split. You've got to decide, or otherwise you're going to end up right in the middle, right in the water.
Exactly. I love that analogy. That's so great.
Yeah, I grew up along the water, and it was like, when you decided to get on a boat, you did not hesitate. And I was, 5 or 6 years old, and I slipped between the dock and the boat. And there was barnacles. I got all cut up. I never did that again.
Oh, what a great picture and learning lesson. I love it.
Exactly. Just take your kids to the dock and get them cut up on barnacles.
Right.
How do you commit 100%? That's how you do it.
I love it.
So you joined doTERRA at that time? How long have you been involved in?
Yeah, it was just around that time when I was doing my yoga teacher training. This was, about 5-6 years ago. I've been with doTERRA for almost 5 years, and I started just using the essential oils. I had endometriosis, and like I said earlier, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, and so I was looking for something natural that would really kind of assist this whole process that I was going through psychologically and emotionally. I was like, okay, I need something that will support my actual physical body and bring all my systems back into balance, because my hormones were way off and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I started using essential oils just for myself. And I was like, oh my God, like these are incredible. And I started being able to wean off and come off my medications that I was on, and started to have energy for the first time in my adult life, and the weight was starting to fall off, and I just had this overwhelming sense to tell people about it and let everybody know, oh my gosh, this is something that's natural and doesn't have side effects. And so it ended up kind of organically growing into a business that now is incredibly successful, and I have just an incredible team that I work with all over the country. So it was kind of a passion piece, and then it ended up being a absolutely incredible business.
People ask me all the time, what's the difference between responsibility and accountability? Well, a lot, actually. Responsibility is the thing that makes me, as a business owner and an entrepreneur, get out of bed every day, make all the phone calls, do what has to be done for the sake of my business. And the success of my business pretty much lies solely on my shoulders. Enter accountability. If you're an entrepreneur or business owner and you're just not quite seeing the results you want, you might just think for a second how you could benefit from having a partner. And I'm not talking about some Shark Tank scenario where somebody gets a huge percentage of the business you've created. I'm talking about Thor Conklin. He's a profitability consultant and an accountability master. If this sounds like something interesting to you or something that you could benefit from, I challenge you to take responsibility for yourself and for your business and go to thorconklin.com/accountability. That's really all you got to do. Take the first step to the best business decision you'll ever make. thorconklin.com/accountability.
6 years ago, how old were you? I know that's a taboo question, but I'm going to ask it.
No. So I was 24.
You were 24. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So up to 24, were things not working well? Was there ever a period where it is like today, everything's working? I mean, you're motivated, you're getting stuff done. Or was the first 24 years just kind of not, the way you wanted it to be?
Well, no, I mean, I would say that especially in high school, and I was a great student, straight A's, class vice president for my junior and senior year. I was an honor student in the college that I went to. But I had this underlying anxiety that was going on pretty much all through high school. And then I ended up graduating from high school, and I met, who's now my ex-husband, but I met a guy at the time. And we ended up getting married, and I was in college, and I dropped out of college. And we got married, and we were married for 10 years. And it was the beginning of that marriage that I feel like everything shifted. And it wasn't because he was some horrible guy or anything like that. We just probably should never have gotten married in the first place. And without going into a lot of detail, just for time's sake, unless you want to, we ended up being caretakers for my ex-husband's nephew, who was diagnosed with neuroblastoma cancer at the age of 2. And we were caretaking him, and he ended up passing away 2 years later. It was just very traumatic and incredibly emotional. I was, 20 when he got diagnosed. I got married at 20, and a couple of months later he was diagnosed, and he passed away when I was 22. And it was like after that, I feel like, coupled with the marriage and the family stress and all of that, and with this nephew, it was like everything in me just shut down. Everything sort of went dark, everything went black, and I didn't know how to get out of that. It was like the grief overtook, and I just shut down. So it was very bizarre. It was the first time in my life I was ever overweight. The first time in my life that I had that level of depression, that I wasn't motivated, that I had gotten myself into a hole that I wasn't sure how to get out of. And I just stayed there for several years.
But now we have the answer. Go to a yoga retreat in Nicaragua and get on a horse.
Yeah, exactly. Done and done, I tell you.
That's right. The interview's done. We can just post it on the internet and say, look, if you want to get out of where you're at right now, this is what you do.
Totally.
Actually, a couple of weeks ago, I actually went to one of these bar classes.
Oh, yeah.
It was the toughest thing in my life. It was unbelievable. I'm in pretty good shape. And all these women are doing this bar class. They have these little weights that range from 2 pounds to 6 pounds. I grabbed the 2 pound weights, and it's like, oh my goodness. I mean, this is like really tough movements.
It's all those little micro movements. I have done those classes before, and yeah, it'll kick your butt for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.
That brings us to the end of another episode of the Peak Performers Podcast. Be on the lookout for part 2 with Mary Hyatt, where she and Thor will discuss turning essential oils from a personal solution to a business solution and using teamwork to work through what's holding you back. That's right here on the next Peak Performers Podcast. We'll see you at the top.